Welcome to the Kelly and Erinn Show. We're so glad you're here.
We're a mother-daughter duo and founders of Kelly's Bake Shop. We built a nationally recognized brand, faced unimaginable challenges, and have chosen to rise again and again, all in the pursuit of a life aligned with truth, freedom, and love.
Each week, we're sharing real, unfiltered conversations about entrepreneurship, healing, and expanding through personal growth, and choosing joy, even when life gets tough.
This is your invitation to come home to yourself. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of the Kelly and Erinn Show. We're so happy that you're here with us today to, just explore some beautiful stuff that we wanted to talk about. And today's theme is going to be talking about what it's really like to own a business, grow a business, start a business, and like the hardships throughout it. A lot of people think that starting a business and owning a business is glamorous, but the truth is that some days are just plain hard. But here's what we've learned in this moment now, that every hardship that we've endured, that we've been through, might feel impossible now, but there's always going to be a story that you're going to tell one day of these hardships, because we have had a plethora of hardships that we have moved through as business owners and as human beings. So we thought we would share this today to just give a little bit of insight and inspiration to maybe some people right now that are going through their own hardships, and how we've tried to move through this to be, our best selves and come out on the other side more positive and more optimistic, and just as better human beings for it. So, Mom, let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
Amazing.
You know what? I do believe that as being, in the business community, it's so important for us to continually share and continually shine the light on like adversity as well as the good times, but it's just always just the times. I think that you and I try to do that as best as possible, is to not label things good or bad. They are just lessons along the way, right? So as we're meandering through this journey of life.
100%. And I think there is so much that people don't see, and I think social media has done a really terrible job of that, when people just see this highlight reel on social media of all the good times and all the successes and all the wins that everybody is moving through. But the reality is that for all of those perceived wins, there's probably 100 hardships and losses and struggles and challenges that every single business owner goes through. And if anybody says that they have not gone through it, they are full of shit, because owning a business is hard. And, as the business owner and as the entrepreneur, CEO, founder, whatever you want to call it, you are the one that gets distilled with all of the crappy problems to solve all the time, right? You are given all of these worst case scenarios, all these problems, all these challenges that you have to solve, because you're really the only one that can do it, because you have the most context in your business. I think what I wanted to kind of talk about with us right now, Mom, to kind of start it off is, our challenges and what people don't see with us, with, moving through cancel culture, moving through 401 Brant Street closing, and just those personal examples of those unglamorous days. And I think with us closing 401 Brant for those 60 days, it was unlike anything I think we'd ever experienced. I mean, we even slept upstairs at the bake shop there multiple times. Being in business for 12 years, you don't think that you're going to have to revert back to that, but it was just so challenging. And I think it's so important to talk about this stuff with everyone.
And to add what you're saying there is that you do whatever it takes, because there's no one coming to save you. And I think that majority of society wants to be saved. They are in that mindset to be saved. And as an entrepreneur, you jump in knowing that you are the one that's your activation. You are your comforter. You are your hugging machine. You are the person that holds you. You're holding yourself when you're crying, but there's no one coming to save you. You are your bank. You are your coach. You are your manager. You're your own manager, as well as managing other people. You're managing yourself too. And that is, a huge realization when, what you're talking about, the 60 days notice. The first thing we did when we got that email on March the 3rd, is you and Michael came over to my place and we decided to toboggan. We've got pictures, we got videos of this, guys. We got to share it one day.
We do.
And we went into the backyard because we were sobbing, but we were in disbelief. And it was like the death of something, like we were just told that someone just died. Like that's what it felt like. And the only thing we could do was just like let this kind of energy like get out of us, like flow out of us. And thank goodness I had this massive snow mountain in my backyard from all the snow that we had gotten from the crazy winter we had. And I had these guys come with these front end loaders. It actually made a snow mountain in the backyard. So we got to do this tobogganing down the hill, which was really funny looking back on it now. But at the time, we were in just such deep belief, but we had to be our activator. We had to be our coach. We had to be the person that hugged us. We had to be that comfort. We had to give ourselves our own comfort. You don't go to the outside to get it from anybody else. And yeah, as an entrepreneur, there's some really hard times, and the times come through the day. Like it's not just, you get a few weeks of goodness, and it's every day has like a 24-hour window, and you're going like this all day long. It's all day long because you got staffing issues, you got supplier issues, you've got the government issues, whatever things and announcement can be made on, what I mean, on government level and stuff, like all the things that can hit you through the day that affect your bottom line. They affect your business on such a profound level. And yeah, we've realized that no one is coming to save us. And we are the ones that are not just necessarily responsible for our lives. We are the ones fully accountable to our existence.
Yeah.
Nobody
I love
else.
that. I love that. And I think, at the end of the day, running a business, starting a business isn't always fun, and that's okay. And I love what Alex Hermosi says. You and I just listened to a great video of his, and he's like, you can move through these hardships knowing that these hardships will be the story that you will tell one day. And that's something that I've really learned, and I've really come into that feeling more and more through going through cancel culture a couple of times and through, getting evicted with 60 days notice with 401 Brand Street. It's like, okay, I could have this perception of poor me. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And like, I did feel that for a hot sec when we first got that news. But then coming out of it and moving through it and say, you know what, this is going to be the story that we're going to tell one day. And being able to show that we've been able to actually move through these hardships and these challenges to get to the other side. Because I know I've said it before, but being an entrepreneur and being in business for yourself is the highest level of personal development and personal growth that you can give to yourself, because every single day, like you've just said, Mom, you're like a moving target. There's, problems to solve, staffing things, customer things, tariffs coming into the business, affecting things, like anything and everything. You are the one to solve all those problems. But as a result, you're able to become that much stronger and that much, better of a human being, of a leader, and just moving forward.
It's that school of personal growth.
Totally.
And I want to add to that too with what Hormozy says. And there's not good lessons or bad lessons, right? And it's like when the bad things hit us, we get to go, yes, because in that moment of something so freaking wild that just knocks you off your feet, you go, okay, I get to grow again. Like this is the exciting part. I get to take it up to another level. Again, I get to reevaluate. I get to go inside. I get to feel all the feels. I get to go, okay, so how do I emerge through this? And it will never happen again because I've then learned that lesson. It's like another level and another step through this whole journey of life. Because I want to remind everybody that there is no destination. We are here on this ever flowing journey of life. People come, people go, money comes, money goes, government comes, government goes, all of the things flow through our life. And that is life. That is your experience. We have to get off the bandwagon thinking that there's going to be a moment in time where we're going, we arrived, we did it. Like, no, it doesn't happen like that. It's this evolution of acquiring as much joy and truth and living as authentic as possible every single day. That is life. It is an evolutionary thing, and every day we're peeling off the onion layers off of us, more and more to going, okay, I can become more real today. Oh, I don't have to be afraid of this anymore. I can speak my truth. I can become even more real today, more authentic. And I just want to add this. We are all getting rid of the childhood layers of trauma and identity politics and all the things that have been stuck to us, Be a good girl. Oh, don't misbehave. Oh, be a good boy. All the sticky notes that have been put on us through our whole lives going, no, I want to rip this off because I don't want to be a good girl anymore. No, I want to be real. I want to be a real boy. Like this is what life is. It's coming unglued to everything that you believed yourself to be. And entrepreneurship is everything to do that for you.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important to talk about these hard things that we've experienced and not pretend like everything is easy all the time. Because, like I said at the beginning, we've been brainwashed by social media to think that, if you're not doing this and striving for this and having, like, I mean, for us in the bakery world, it's having all these locations and all the success and all this stuff of what it should look like and what those highlight reels look like. It's like, that's not authentic though. That's not real life. That's not sharing the hardships and the journey to actually get to that point. And I think that it's just so valuable and so important for us to be as real and as authentic as possible moving through this journey of life.
Question for you.
Okay. Hit
So,
me.
um, I got to think of it how I want to phrase it. So, like, what was that one moment? Is there a moment through the whole, say, the 12 years of Kelly's Bake Shop? Let's use that specifically. Then, and you said to yourself, I'm just not sure I can do this any longer.
For sure. I mean, I think the most intense moment that I felt that was getting the news on March the 3rd that we were going to be evicted from 401 Brant Street, because to me, that was everything. And so much of my identity was looped into those four walls that seeing that email and that message come through, it was like someone just stabbed me in the gut or stabbed me in the heart. And I was like, how the hell can I move through this anymore? Like, this is absolutely insane. And I think what I really held on with myself and like what I told myself throughout it is I can do hard things. I have moved through so many difficult things already. I mean, being publicly shamed, ridiculed, humiliated, canceled, all of that. I've moved through that to the point of basically wanting to not wake up in the morning to that intensity that I know I can get through this of, 401 Brant Street transitioning, but also having that trust and having that faith on the other side of knowing that this is all part of a higher plan and really trusting that deep within my core. And when I really leaned into that feeling of trusting and having faith through this whole process, so many other doors started to open up for us, which was further confirmation for me to just be like, okay, I got this. We're going to move forward one step at a time. I can do hard things. And like Alex Hermosi says, this is going to be the story I'm going to tell one day.
I'm so proud of you. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to move through it.
Totally. And I think I think it's important that we can talk about like maybe for yourself too, Mom. Maybe why don't I ask you the same freaking question? Because you may have a totally different moment in time that really, really impacted you. So was there a moment for you where you thought throughout these last 12, 15 years of us having a business, working together, being in business together, navigating everything, that you said to yourself, I'm really not sure that I can do this anymore. Like, I'm just done. I just want to throw in the towel. I just cannot do this anymore. And like, what helped you to move through that yourself?
So where do I start? We could do a whole podcast series on this. Really, I'm going to say one of the first years was 2014 with the first telltale sign that my marriage was not doing well. And the toxicity started coming into the business in a way that was not comfortable for me any longer. Definitely boundaries were being crossed. And that affected me right through from 2014 right through into 2022 when I finally said that I had enough. I was a slow learner. It just took me 8 years to finally pull that plug, and not to throw anybody under the bus at all. I'm not saying it for that reason. It was all on me, and it was just time to release that situation. And then on top of it, then in 2020, so I'm going through all those marriage issues, and his ex-wife was after me too for a financial situation. It was like, it was a little bit crazy. Everything was very clustered, and then getting canceled in 2020, 2021, 2022. And then it was like leading up to the grand finale of 2025 when we got the email saying that Kelly's Bake Shop is now going to be no longer. And I sat with that, and all the lineage, of the things that I'd gone through, like very severely, like negative, like very dark, and
Trauma.
yes, spider web interwoven dark trauma, like you're saying, is like, wow. And, like, what has my life been like? Right. So for me, it's been this extraction of pulling these things apart and going, like, what has my role been in all of this as well? And being fully accountable. Like, I'm not here to point fingers at anybody or anything. It's like, wow, like, so this journey for my life, and I'm going to be, 62 in September. And I say that for a reason, because not many people in their 60s are like giving it every single day and starting a new business and starting new ideas and creating something new in this latter half of their life, right? Or this latter quarter of our life, whatever it is you want to call it. And I've created such self-awareness. It's been the biggest gift for me. And that's what I've been trying to get to here, is that there's nothing good and there's nothing bad. And that's how I've been starting to label the things that happen, is like rejoicing when something bad comes. And it's exactly the things that I've been, now studying to with personal growth. And it's like what you said too, with what Hermosi said. It's like, this is a story we get to tell. This gives me the opportunity to show how I've grown, to show how I've moved through these things and these incredible opportunities to share with the world. And how do you end up still focused on and trusting in the love of life, right? This blind faith almost, and I mentioned this to you earlier, Erinn, is about not just having faith, it's having freaking blind faith to know that you are so trusted and so supported for the next leg of your journey, and to stop labeling it as good or bad. Sure, my divorce happened. Sure, we got kicked out of 401 Brant Street. Yeah, that happened. Sure, we got canceled a number of times. But when I look back at it going, these are people too, just struggling to get through their life. Like, of course they attached to us to cancel us. Of course my divorce took on this bad thing, because the truth sort of came up in our relationship. When the darkness came, you got to see the real people, please stand up, right? Like, you got to see how they acted in a way when their trauma got activated.
Right.
So when we got canceled, for sure, like those people, their traumas were activated within us. Like, excuse me, from us, not within us. Their traumas were activated from us, from something we said, something we acted like, how we conducted our business. Maybe it's our mom and daughter relationship. It's our openness that we're able to say, hey, Erinn, you know what? I'm pissed off with you today. Or you can say, Mom, you know what? Can you stop saying that shit, because you're really making me really uncomfortable? Okay. That's more often than not.
That's why we're laughing right now.
Yeah, that's why we're laughing. Like, Mom, don't say that. Please don't say that. Stop. Okay. So, but it's having this relationship, though, to be able to laugh at each other, but to able to laugh at ourselves and to laugh at this journey going, this is the biggest clown show. Like, let's be honest. All right. Like, let's zoom out right now and go, okay. So the last 12, 13 years in business at Kelly's Bake Shop, best thing we've ever done in our life, the most fun we've ever had in our life, the most growth we've ever had in our life. And sure, there's been some shitstorms along the way, but hasn't that made it so entertaining?
Totally. And like honestly, I will just say the number of stories that we have, and I actually wish that we documented every single one of these.
They're all in my head.
Crazy stories, crazy shit that has happened. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Mom. It's been the freaking time of our life. And then also moving through all of these hardships. It's like our cancellation chapter was something that shattered us, or we had a perception of it shattering us. But then we were able to find our voice and find our mission and really like dig deep as to who we were and who we are as human beings. And the same thing goes with Burlington closing, is like how devastating it felt in that moment, but then how it has opened up doors in so many other ways that we couldn't even have dreamt possible. So it's like really just accepting all of these hardships. Again, I'm just going to say it again, accepting these hardships, because it's going to be the story you're going to tell one day. That's honestly the long and the short of this entire episode, is not labeling something good or bad. When something good happens, okay, great, it's something good. And when something bad happens, just say, this will be the story I'm going to tell one day, and be able to move through that with such confidence, because you'll always be supported no matter what. The universe, God, higher power, whatever you believe in, is always guiding you to your highest good. You just have to get out of the way, and you just have to trust and have faith that what is aligned for you and what is meant for you will be, and everything else is just gone. So, yeah.
I just offer this too, is that I think that one of the greatest healing frequencies for us all is to be able to laugh, and to laugh at ourselves, to laugh at each other, not take anything personal like that. And I think that to go back to the beginning of this, on March the 3rd, when we got that email and we went outside and decided to do tobogganing, it was the most hilarious thing, watching Kelly fall off one of those, what do you call it? The saucers, the flying
They're
saucer.
like those like flying saucers that are in the family Christmas or Christmas family vacation with like
Right. Chevy Chase.
Chevy. Yeah, 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 yeah. Chevy Chase and like the friggin' Griswolds. That's
Right, the
that's what we
Griswold.
did.
So we did a Griswold tobogganing session. That's what we did with Yukon, Erin's dog, and pushing Kelly down this hill, falling on my face and having a laugh. And honestly, as we're recording this, it's like 11:11 right now, just so you
Of
know.
course it is.
Of course it is. I like going down the hill and I started to laugh my guts out. And I went like, of course they kicked us out. Like, of course this was happening. Of course. But in the big picture now, well, like, okay, it happened.
Yeah.
Move on. Great lesson. And we get to say now that this is our story that we get to talk about, we get to write about. Maybe it's time for a book. Maybe it's time for a Netflix series.
But I think like if we're just talking about Burlington for a minute, I wanted to ask you this question, because you've kind of already answered it, but I think I want to ask it to you anyways. So during, the perceived low moments of, Burlington closing and really going through that kind of dark night of the soul and being like, holy crap, like what are we going to do next? What really helped you to stay anchored and to keep believing in the possibility of what was next, and in, trusting and having faith? Like what really helped you move through that?
I'm going to be honest that what really helped me was the ability to push myself to go into nature, to go and hug trees. And I know it sounds so funny, guys, but their frequencies are healing frequencies. And I spent a lot of time alone. I mean, aside from having Erin, but there was really no one else that was going to understand what my heart was feeling and the breaking of it. And it was honoring that grief, because it was the same feeling as when my dad dropped dead 30 years ago. And that was exactly the same feeling of that ultimate grief of a sudden, extraordinary loss that you never saw coming. And he passed away very suddenly of a brain aneurysm at 62. And I never got to say goodbye. Like I never got to honor it. And it just all happened so fast. And that pain was so real. And that pain I felt from reading that email. And then I went into a future tripping, right? Like I went into the future tripping with Kelly's Bake Shop of going, oh my God, what's going to happen to us? And oh my God, this and that, pity party shit. I'm going to call it myself out as that is, right? But to give me credit to, we had a staff of, 40, and it's a well-oiled machine, and we had all these things going on, and like very well created business. And I called myself out for future tripping and creating that unnecessary worry, the unnecessary anxiety, the unnecessary just scattered emotions, and really focused on meditation. I have a red light sleeping bag thing, you call it, my red light bag thing. I hopped into that quite often. I have my scalar machine. I started giving myself so much infrared saunas, You and I did a short-term membership with Scandinave, and we just started honoring, like, joy and finding that joy, the happiness. It was so important to infuse our lives with changing, breaking pattern, doing something different, instigating something new energy to come up through us, which was so important than just going, "Poor me, my business is closing," no. How can we market it? How can we actually spend the next 60 days on such a high level? How can we now start plan that final day on May the 5th or May the 4th, excuse me? It was like that was going to be the final day. Were we going to make that so magical for the world and memorable so that when we ever do hopefully reopen one day that we, we're trying that it reopens, that we have that momentum, but it was putting the auction mask though on ourselves and infusing ourselves with the joy, knowing that we are the ringleaders. We had to come up with a higher level of energy than our staff, than our suppliers, than the four walls of the business itself. We had to rise through that and make us a shining light to guide through this transition. So it was infusing myself with extraordinary spiritual tools and breaking pattern to infuse myself with joy every single day.
Which, was really hard. Like it really, really was trying to pull yourself out of things and trying to, like you said, Mom, raise your energy, raise your vibration so that when we were there at the Burlington location for those last 60 days, is that we're there hyping up the team, hyping up our customers, being there, positive energy. And it's not about, being toxically positive or anything like that. It's just having that trusting and that energy to say, guys, we got this. Kelly's Bake Shop is so loved. The biggest thing for me moving through those 60 days was the number of stories and the number of customers that came in that we had no idea had such depth and such connection to our business. And again, obviously, we know that our business touches so many people's lives, but to actually hear these stories firsthand from these customers with tears in their eyes saying, your business has changed my child's life, or your business changed my life, or we come here twice a week because my little boy has a nut allergy, or all of those kind of stories was so impactful to say, holy crap, like we never would have heard that volume of connection and that volume of stories had it just been business as usual. So I think that was also added fuel for me, and I'm sure for you too, Mom, throughout that time to be like, wow, like holy crap, like look at this place that we've created and that has now taken on a mind of its own, because it's so much bigger than just the two of us. We may have started it and birthed it, but it has now become this incredible place that makes so many people feel safe and connected to something bigger than themselves. And that was really a beautiful time for
It's
sure.
so true, so true. It was just think of all these marriages and
Yeah.
all the marriages, all the like the first dates and engagements, and then it's like, yeah, they actually got married, and then they had babies, and like we actually were having these, the first generation from them. There's a Kelly's Bake Shop babies are everywhere. Like went, wow. I guess our baked goods really are successful in the relationship department. So
Exactly.
they create romance. I don't know.
Exactly. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. So I really hope, or we really hope that you guys got something beautiful out of this, episode, a little nugget, a little tidbit, something that you can take with you. And I think it's so important to anchor in that, you don't have to love the hard parts that you're moving through and the hardships that you're moving through, but just remember that one day your story might inspire someone else to keep going. And I think that's
Yes.
something you really have to lean into, is that, yeah, we could be just in our own heads dealing with the chaos and the bullshit and all the stuff that we're moving through. But by us sharing it and by us being real and authentic with the world, with our community, it hopefully has the opportunity to inspire someone else who is moving through something hard. And I think that that's something really, really beautiful that you can offer to your community and beyond.
I love that. And we do. We each have a story to tell. And our stories are so important to tell and to share and to be as vulnerable as possible. That's what the world is lacking this right now. And it's this vulnerability as we move through the layers and we start removing layers and start exposing even more and more of who we are. You're going to find like your like-minded tribe that way. They're going to resonate with you and with your story. And you can ask yourself, what challenge am I facing right now? And how might it become part of my story one day?
Totally.
Sit
That
with
that's so beautiful. So Mom, do you wanna wrap it up?
how do I wrap it up? You're being a goof right now.
With that being said, I think that this episode is wrapped up. Please subscribe to our podcast. Please leave us a review. We have a few incredible 5-star reviews. So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. And until next time, we're going to be chatting some more juicy stuff on our next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a beautiful day.
We love you.